I'm Mason Mount. You're listening to the London is Blue podcast.
Right.
So, all right. There's another name that has come up quite frequently because an area of concern that's been highlighted is really since the era of Ashley Cole, and Azpilicueta has deputized very well as a left back, but there has not been the heir apparent in that area for Chelsea. So, we've seen Alonso, who's done really well as a left wing back, but ultimately Ben Chilwell seems to be the name that keeps on popping up. And with Leicester dropping out of the top four, going into the Europa League, saying previously they didn't want to sell, potentially an £80 million valuation. Naz, what's the attitude on this one? Because Chilwell had a very poor return to form in post-restart. A lot of people maybe just don't like the idea of this transfer, but what's your feeling about this one? And I know you kind of said that any transfer compared to Havertz is less likely to happen, but what do you think about this one?
Yeah, similar. But yeah, this one, like you said, Brandon, when I put out my transfer stories about Chilwell, you get a bit of negative reaction sometimes, which is quite interesting. But I think that with the left back situation as a whole, I don't think Lampard, as we can see really, by his team selections, really fancies Alonso in a back four. Maybe even, Alonso's basically just played when it's a wing back situation, which has been good for him. But Aspie plays there otherwise. And then Emerson isn't even in the picture. And I don't really see Emerson as a bad player, but he is quite short and Chelsea are already struggling at set pieces. So I wonder if that's part of the picture with Emerson. And yeah, again, when we're talking about signing left backs, something's got to give. One of them has to leave, and I've heard even Zappacosta might come back because Roma can't afford to keep him on loan currently. So that's a concern.
Wow, that's from the past there. Wow.
Yeah, he forgot about that guy. So yeah, these are some issues. I actually think Chelsea's issues are in selling more than buying. It's just so hard to find a buying club in this market with COVID and the economic effects. But with Chilwell, he's 100% the main target, and I'm kind of, I've been trying to look into some of these other guys that have been linked with Chelsea: Tagliafico, Gusens, Cucurella, and there's not really anything moving around those guys. They're absolutely quiet from a Chelsea perspective. They have other interests from other clubs as well, so Chelsea kind of do need to act eventually if they want to get these guys. And yeah, the Chilwell's just the main man, and it's just the man Chelsea are completely focused on. And I'd say there's negatives to all the transfers, and the Chilwell negative is he's very expensive. Leicester don't want to sell. Leicester's a rich club. They're not like West Ham. They're not struggling. They're not trying to sell players to prop up in the market. The Europa League was still a decent achievement for them. Their owner's rich. They've still got that Maguire money burning a hole in their pocket, thinking, what are we going to do with this? And Maguire is a sort of example that shows you how hard it is to sign from Leicester. I think Chilwell wants to move from everything I've heard as well. So that's something that's in Chelsea's favour, but he's not really done anything to act out or act professional. He's been totally a great pro there. And maybe that would help Chelsea if he just sort of said, I don't want to play, I want to move. All this kind of stuff might sort of, hurt his reputation in the short term, but help the transfer as well. But he's not. I don't know if he'd be willing to do that. So I think that's the situation we're at. We're at a bit of a sort of Mexican standoff with this one. But I think that Chelsea are going to stick at Chilwell for a bit. I think that, when we're talking about transfers in defence, who's done the best with transfers in defence? Liverpool, Virgil van Dijk. They kind of stuck out for him for ages and ages, and everyone was saying to Liverpool, why aren't you signing centre-back? You can't get Van Dijk, he won't come. And eventually they ended up paying a really high fee and getting the man they wanted, and he was a game changer. In a way, maybe Chelsea see Chilwell as that. And I'm kind of in two minds if they're going to sort of blink and sign a Tagliafico, who I'd probably say is available at a really good price. I think he's available around 22 million. They're either going to blink or they're going to stick on the Chilwell path. And right now they're totally on the Chilwell path. There's no veering from it. But Tagliafico is available. They could go in. If a club makes a bid for Tagliafico, Chelsea might say, look, we've got to go in as well. Say Atletico Madrid want him. Say Atletico Madrid agree a fee, then Chelsea could go in and agree a fee alongside that. And maybe that's the point where they go and do a deal like that. But certainly Chilwell's number one.
That's kind of the point, though, that I wanted to make, Naz, right? Is you're talking about 80 million for Havertz. You're talking about 50 to 60 million for Rice. You're talking about 60 some million for Chilwell. That's not a realistic. Like, you're not bringing in 500 million pounds worth of transfers in one window, right? So, like, one, the numbers have to add up, and that the Chilwell numbers always stuck out to me as an absurd number, especially as you looked around it. Like, your Tierneys and your Robertsons of the world that were very low transfers, very high upside players. Second piece is Chilwell's not been very good. I mean, genuine, his form's been pretty bad. And obviously, the injury at the end of the season didn't help or anything, but I've always struggled with this one because I think outside of the first, kind of 40% of the season, he didn't really do the business.
Yeah, well, I think the problem is Maguire's was worth a lot to Leicester, and he definitely wasn't worth 80 million that Man United paid for him. And Chilwell similarly is worth a lot to Leicester, and it's the same sort of process that's kept Wilfred Zaha at Palace, because he could have moved on to a big club a long time ago, but they just see him as worth so much money that nobody's willing to pay, and maybe Chilwell's stuck in this place. But I think that with Chelsea, they're trying to wait it out, see what they're going to do. And maybe, with the other transfers, the other players they've been linked with, there's a risk with all of them. They'd be stepping up in level big time. I mean, Chilwell, at least he's played in the Premier League. At least he's played in big games against Man City, Liverpool, etc. So that's really in his favour. He's played for England as well. He fits in the culture of the league. He would fit in the squad. Great age. There'll be seller value, even if he's a bit of a failure. Chelsea would probably get 30 million for him easily. So there's an element of, advantage there. If you sign Tagliafico, there's no sell-on value. So even though it's a great fee, there's no sell-on value. And he's stepping up in league. Yes, he's an Argentinian international, but he's stepping up in league. And we're still not sure if he could make that step. I think with him, he's also quite good in the air and quite athletic. So that might be in his favour to adapt to the league and sort of help the set piece problem, which a left back can do just as well as even a left back or a midfielder could help the set piece problem. So you've got to think about it like that. And then the other ones they're linked with as well. Telles is an attacking fullback in the Portuguese league. It's completely different. It's absolutely not comparable. Playing for Getafe, Cucurella, completely different. Goossens is at least at Atalanta, but their system is completely unique. So there's a question mark on every single player that Chelsea are linked with. And with Chilwell, he's unbelievably expensive, but there's slightly less question marks for me. And maybe that's why Frank Lampard would look to him.